What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of What Is Podcast, the show where every week 3 best friends and you come together to discuss anything and everything, games, shows, movies, and sometimes tech. I'm one of your hosts, Patrick Jovez. Alongside me, I have everyone's best friend, Brian Rohr.
Howdy, folks. How's everybody doing this week? Hopefully
What's up, man? It's still raining.
It is. We had a good 2 days of not raining, and it started raining again, yeah.
But at least this time you didn't take like an hour to get here.
No, I didn't. Yeah,
so that's good. And of course, rounding out the Trinity, we have our very own rock star, Mr. Ryan McGeary.
How's it going, guys?
What's up, dude?
Nothing much.
How's
feeling older?
How was your festivities? Yeah, you turned a quarter of a century old, just like me.
Wow.
Well, Brian beat us to it.
I did.
Like last year.
Weirdo.
So he's super old.
Yeah, I really
Still
didn't
taking showers in the bathroom.
Actually, my birthday was pretty tight. I worked a double at work, and then I convinced my boss to let me have the next day off. So I slept in the middle of the week, played Final Fantasy all day, had dinner with my parents, and then had some drinks with some homies. So
that's awesome. You met with your parents in the city, or was
yeah? They came out. They came out to the city, and I Ubered them over to the marina, and it was hilarious because they'd never taken an Uber before. So I called it like as I was meeting up with them at BART or outside of the BART station, and I just walked up to a random car, opened the door for them, and they were like, "What? Oh, it was like a limo
this is another
service."
person's car, son.
And because they've only ever taken taxis, so it just blew their freak. I spent the whole dinner explaining them what ride sharing was.
Wonderful.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. Well, folks, before we start the show, I have a couple of housekeeping things we need to get through. I've been looking into getting this podcast in an audio-only format. I know it's weird that it's an audio cast, but we put it on YouTube. Like I said, I'm trying to figure that out right now, and I'm getting a little bit closer on that. Also, our tech segment, Tech Nerdy to Me, won't be a weekly segment. Depending on like how tech news goes and stuff like that, but it will pop up from like now and again if we have anything for it. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's start the show with a segment we like to call Game Time.
Game time, everyone. Before we get started, I want to mention that you should definitely check out the PlayStation Plus games and Xbox games with gold before January ends. This will be the realistically last week to get that taken care of. So definitely do that, and let's go ahead and start the segment. So, guys, we had a pretty big news announcement with the Switch finally getting some concrete details. They had a big conference, and I'm pretty sure we all got to watch that. Initially, what were your guys' thoughts on their actual presentation?
I like how they, like every time they had to switch to somebody, they had to...
Yes,
they had to snap their fingers. It was like, Jesus, the showmanship with Nintendo is awesome.
Because I was watching that with a couple of buddies in a party, and one of my friends watching it like just lived for those snaps. He was just like, where is it? Where is it? They need more.
He got really excited every time. Oh, God.
Exactly.
Oh, my God, they're going to do it again.
Nintendo's kind of cheesy. I think it fits. I think if, like, Sony did that, it'd be a little bit more weird. But, I can totally see, like, some...
I mean, nothing's as awkward as, like, that, like, the Ubisoft conferences where, like, people are swearing left and right. And right. Like, what is happening? Yeah, like, we're here to talk about games.
Yeah.
But
so,
like this Assassin's Creed is going to be so fucking tight. Okay. Yeah. Tell us about the game. It's fucking dope.
It's fucking amazing.
But yeah, like, overall thoughts, like, initial impressions of the overall conference. I thought, started off a little slow.
Yeah.
It had to, because I was literally watching it. I ended up, like, not having a movie night with my fiance because I was like, oh crap, the Switch event is on tonight.
I gotta watch it.
Babe, please? She's like, okay. So anyways, I was watching it, and like the first half was really kind of slow, but they
Yeah.
had to give out the specs and like the price and like give us some tech, some nerdy stuff, and then they could save the last half of it for gameplay and
big
the
game
things
reveals.
that are gonna sell this system to not non-believers, but like to everyone else out there, you know.
Right.
So that's my kind of take on it. It just started off a little slow, but by the end I was super interested.
Yeah, I also agree. I liked how they started off with the nitty gritty right away, just like, price point, and launch, I guess, as well, when they talked about that. I agree. I think that it was definitely a little slow at points, and I don't know about you guys, but some of the kind of live action, actors they use to show off the games, like, and some of the people that came up on stage to try to like mimic that, it got a little awkward at times, but that's Nintendo. Like, they do funny stuff like that. And I think overall, though, I really enjoyed it, and I would love to see, more conferences maybe of that scale. But yeah, I know what, and I guess we can kind of move on to kind of one of the big things we talked about, games. But let's talk a little bit about the announced launch games that they talked about. So right off the bat, we saw at the end of the conference, they ended big with the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild being launched on the exact date as the console. That was the only game that they showed at the conference that was a launch title that they showed. But it's going to be March 3rd. We also have, actually 1-2 Switch was another one of them as well.
Which looks like kind of like it's like their version, the Switch's version of
like the Wii Sports. Correct. Which is kind of weird though, because
it's not a package.
It's not packaged in.
And yeah, I was talking to a coworker about that earlier, and he was heated. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't make sense either, but yeah. So there's like 1-2 Switch.
Right. Super Bomberman R is another big one. Just Dance 2017.
They're still making those.
Yeah, they still are, surprisingly. And Skylanders Imaginators. Those are the kind of main launch titles that are confirmed. And then we also have, other games they showed that were kind of really cool. We had, obviously, their big kind of, I guess, fighter game that they wanted to make was ARMS. That was really neat.
So ARMS, so they were talking about it, and they were like, okay, so this is a game that everyone can play, which is 1-2 Switch, and here's a game for your like hardcore audience, and it still looks like kiddish.
Yeah.
That being said, I am super excited about ARMS. He gets a box, like even how rudimentary Wii Boxing was on Wii Sports. I just devoured that game because I love fighting games. So anything that has fighting mechanics in it, yeah, I think it comes off as super cartoony, but I think I'd rather have it this way than have like some weird Kinect,
sure,
that Kinect fighting game where it looked like it was over the top brutal and it just doesn't work.
Right.
Still have to see the gameplay
working.
Like
having the game work is pretty important.
Yeah. It looks like it's like Splatoon a little bit. It's like a lot more lighthearted and cartoony, but
yeah,
hopefully it's a Nintendo product and like first party product, so I'm sure since it's being made for the controllers, it's gonna work pretty well. I'm just looking forward to like punching someone.
Yeah. Yeah, they showed a lot of
in the
really
game,
cool
right?
stuff at the Treehouse Live.
No,
real life.
running down the street punching people.
Yeah, that's how I imagined it. Yeah, it looks like there's going to be a lot of depth in that game, and just seeing some of the gameplay they showed off, it looks like anyone can pick it up and have a good time, and people that really want to get into it, hell, you can even play with an actual like controller. You don't need the Joy-Cons to play, so you don't need motion controls. So I wonder how that'll play competitively.
Yeah.
We mentioned the other game too, Splatoon 2. That's going to be huge. I know we were all really surprised when we saw that, and we're like, oh, it's probably going to be, Splatoon Plus, or an HD, better looking version. But no, they went with a sequel. Like, it's a full-on sequel.
Yeah, full-on sequel.
Yeah. Super excited for
new
that.
Weapons. I think they showcased a new weapon. It was like the dual-wielding weapon.
Yes, the dual-wield. Yeah, because Ryan, I know you definitely got into it when you got the Wii U. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Splatoon was probably one of the other than Super Smash, it was one of the main games that I played on the Wii U, and I was super stoked when they announced that, and I think that whole dual wielding kind of assassin dodge rolly kind of character is really cool. And I was really I was actually audibly saying out loud, like, whoa, as they were showing some of the new like supers, like the rain cloud
Nice.
and like some of the other stuff. I was like, whoa, that's really
Yes.
cool. And it's cool that they've innovated. I mean, that game is just so unique. It's cool that they've come up with kind of, they didn't just copy paste it. I mean, it's definitely got the same look and everything, but I'm excited to hopefully start playing with some friends again, because I played for a couple of months online, and then I don't know, my friend stopped wanting to play, and
Mhm.
I don't know, it'll be cool to kind of delve
Yeah, and you're
back
like
into
a
that
huge
world because it's so
shooter
unique.
guy too. So like seeing how this is a Nintendo property and like they're taking over what is usually summed up as like Xbox territory as like a really good shooter. It's like a team-based shooter.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's just
and they-
pretty
and
cool
they do
to
it-
have Nintendo do that.
And they definitely do it in the Nintendo style too. I mean, Splatoon is
Yeah.
wholeheartedly Nintendo, but yeah, it's definitely a very solid, polished shooter, and it's just very unique too. I mean, nothing is like Splatoon. It's like visually and in the gameplay and the way just the whole aesthetic is just very unique. So I really enjoy that game. So that was one of my favorite announcements, just in general at the Switch conference.
Yeah, I agree. I know next up, another game that they showed was the I guess the new Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So I guess it's a updated version of it. Looks like they have better visuals, and I guess they had some new items and some new characters
It
as
looks
well.
like you can hold two items like Double Dash.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's one of the new mechanics. But they also showed like what was it? A Splatoon character that you can play as now, like an Ink Girl, Ink Boy. I think King Boo is a new character as well, and I'm assuming might be a new map or two. But it does look great. And then we also have one of the games that I am super excited for, and it's Snipper Clips. It was one of those things that we probably all looked at and saw. We're like, this looks really weird. Like, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it. But then as I started watching gameplay and seeing how it was this kind of, puzzle game where you have to cut your two players work together to try to cut each other up to form shapes to solve these puzzles. These puzzles aren't just children's level. Like, they're actually kind of tough. Like, I could see myself, this is one of the games where they talk about bringing the Switch along with you and playing with somebody at a friend's house. Like, this is a game I would want to show off to people and let's play some of these puzzles and figure it
you're
out.
Becky. Is it Becky?
I might be. I think whoever goes up to the top of the roof is like, yeah, I got my Switch. Yeah,
God,
I will be that
Becky,
person.
We're just trying to hang out. She's always bringing her Nintendo Switch.
Always. We just
everywhere.
want to hang out and socialize. Exactly. So I'll be that guy with Snipper Clips, and I think also the 1-2 Switch as well. And then the last big game that they talked about, or not last big game, but one of the big ones we're kind of wanting to see towards the end of the year is going to be the new Super Mario Odyssey, and it's for a new 3D Mario game, and I think it looks fantastic. I guess it's more sandbox style, kind of like we used to use with the Super Mario 64. I'm really happy with it. I'm loving the look of it so far.
It looks really
I mean,
good. There's
Yeah.
Brian, you
Go
and I
ahead,
were
Brian.
talking about this last week too. Just the
Yeah,
we were
sandbox,
we were kind of disagreeing some of the what you would define as open world, because it's so weird to think that Mario 64 was considered an open world game, because it's just not that big, but it is. I mean, that was genuinely what was considered an open world game back then, and now have Mario running around what seems to be Manhattan. Just all it's just so weird having him in this. It's surreal looking to have him this, Nintendo type character in a semi-realistic or almost
Right.
photorealistic
Yeah, the
downtown
visuals were just
urban
very
center.
realistic. Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, that's for at least one of the stages.
If not the
But,
hub
yeah,
world,
I think-
we don't
I
know.
think
Maybe
that-
that's how they interact with.
Yeah, it seems to be the main portal world, almost like the castle overworld kind of thing, and then he takes his little
Potentially.
top hat or whatever to to the
Yeah, the hub and
to
you
the
have the
different
eyes. It looks really
locations.
See, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. I was thinking the top hat was the hub world, and then whatever destination you pick, that would be the painting
Interesting.
for Mario 64. Still, it was still a ways off, so we still don't know
Yeah,
concrete
100%.
details about it. But yeah, that definitely could be true. It could be a New York Donkey Kong esque hub world,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of
I saw-
Donkey
I
Kong names in there.
I saw a really funny
Go ahead.
video the other day that it was labeled as a trailer for Mario the new Mario game, and it was just a modded Grand Theft Auto 4.
Nice.
And it was just Nico with the Mario skin and him just like, running around causing total mayhem and getting chased by the cops and stuff. And it was just super funny because you go in with this pretense that it's going to be like, the Nintendo trailer. I've already seen it at this point, and I was just going to watch it again. And because in the screenshot, it looked kind of different. I was like, he looks taller in this one. Like, he looks like lankier. And I clicked on it out of curiosity, and then it turned out to be just a skinned Nico from Grand Theft Auto 4. I'll have to send that to you guys. It's super funny.
Nico, cousin.
That's fine. Cool. Well, I guess we can move on to some of the details I think everybody's really wanting to know, and that's kind of like the actual tech specs and price of the console. I know stuff that we've all, holding our breath for in the last couple of weeks trying to find out. So there was a lot of back and forth about what the price point was going to be, but we finally have, the price point they went with, and they actually went with the $299. A lot of us were thinking that wasn't going to happen because that's almost too expensive. That's like the cost of a PS4 or an Xbox One, right?
That's the thing. It runs the same retail price as a PS4 and PS4 Slim and Xbox Slim, right?
1S, yeah, exactly.
1S Slim. And I mean, if you are looking at a spreadsheet of just what are the specs on it, it's an underpowered machine that doesn't do as much as these other systems.
Right.
But taking into account that this is Nintendo and they've never really needed the most powerful tech to deliver some of the greatest gaming moments in history.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something to say there about that.
It is. And I mean, you're getting like a all-in-one system, right? Whereas when you bought the PS4 and Xbox One, you need your TV still. Like, hopefully you have a TV to use the dock system, which we'll talk about in a second, but you can just play that thing with the built-in screen that it has. So, and I think that if they had gone with a lower price point, they would have sacrificed, what they did with the internals. And as we'll get to in a second, you'll see that they did a lot of work with the controllers they used and for the screen technology and everything. So I think it's a good price point. It's where I thought they would go. I was hoping they'd go with that, and I'd be willing to spend that cost. So then moving on, one of the other really big things that they didn't quite show at the presentation, but they gave us information on their website later, was the kind of like the specs on the screen. So it's confirmed it's going to be a 6.2-inch screen. It's going to be running at a 720p resolution, and it's going to be a capacitive multi-touch screen. So I know we were all kind of not sure if it was going to be a touchscreen, because that first trailer we saw, October, they didn't point out any touchscreen stuff. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Is 720p enough for a 6.2-inch display?
Seems pretty sufficient.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're just using it as like a mobile platform,
yeah, it's not too bad. I'm okay with it. Everything I've seen says that the visual, the actual visual fidelity and everything looks pretty great, and it does a good job.
I mean, to me, it's not I could tell that something's not 720 or 1080, but that's if the resolution, the opposite resolution is right next to it.
Sure.
So if you give me this 720 screen, I won't even know.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I'm not. For me, graphics aren't the game. That's not if I want to watch something that's beautiful, I'll just watch Avatar.
Sure.
Or I'll look at myself in the mirror. Or I'll look at Ryan's pictures.
There you go. That's what we all do.
But yeah, it's the gameplay that hooks me into what games are, and differentiating between 720p and 1080 is not gonna be a deal breaker to me.
Yeah.
For some people it will, though. Some people will find a way to complain about that.
Yeah.
Well, some people complain about everything.
Yeah, people will find a way. It should be good. Another thing, though, another spec that I think a lot of us are all just kind of questioning is the amount of space they went with for the internal memory. We're only talking here 32 gigabytes in 2017.
Yeah, especially now that you're getting PlayStation bundles and Xbox One S bundles that start at 1 terabyte.
A terabyte, yeah.
That's really hard. That's a hard sell.
It's hard to swallow.
Especially Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wind. It's gonna take up half of that. like if you download it. If you get the physical copy, you should be good. But still, like, how many big games can you have until it takes up to 32?
Right.
And I'm kind of surprised too that they didn't announce some sort of maybe cloud storage or something, you know? Because when you go for something that low, I feel like you have to at least explain it by being like, oh, we want to go more, you know, cloud-based data. And
yeah, but when has Nintendo ever been
side.
like that good with online or like those type of technical?
It just
features?
seems like such a glaring oversight as far as, I don't know. I guess if you look at like micro SD like extreme cards,
which we're about
that
to
you
talk
can expand
about, correct.
Yeah, if you can expand the memory with that, then that's cool. But it is getting cheaper to do that. But I mean,
but also that's still another
like
expense.
I mean, you can get very very large micro SD XC cards, but they're not cheap. You know.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not all in one either. Like to the average consumer, that's like, hey, I want to buy this thing for my kid for the holidays. All of a sudden, they have 4 games, and they're like, where's the, like, why can't I play this other game?
Right.
You know, then you're kind of like out of luck.
Yeah. To elaborate for the viewers or the listeners, there is a micro SD card slot that they hid behind the kickstand, so it can be expandable. But that's what so it's better than nothing, but like Patrick, like you're saying, that means the price point isn't $299. You need to most likely go out and buy a micro SD card to make that bigger.
Yeah.
So that's
especially if this is gonna be your primary way to play.
I'm looking at prices for that right now too. You know, $60 to $100 if you want to go half a terabyte or a terabyte.
Oh wow!
But that sucks. That's an innate. That's actually not as expensive as I thought, but it's still a cost that you almost certainly every single person has to take on themselves. You know, like that sucks.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you're guaranteeing that, you know, on top of the console that everyone's gonna have to go out and buy some sort of memory expansion. Whereas like you can at least manage it on an Xbox or a PlayStation if you like are very honest with yourself with what you're actually gonna play. You know, 500 to a terabyte is like enough. But if you start off with 32 gigs, like that's enough for like save files. That's about it.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that there's going to be a lot of cartridge-based games that I don't think you're going to need to install as much, but it's still, like for the digital storefront, which we haven't seen yet, it'll be nice to have more space. But I think, you know, it's going to be important going forward to see like how big those games are, but we'll find out. But yeah, so let's move on to the next kind of big spec, and we don't really quite know the capacity of the battery in terms of milliamps per hour, but we know that they gave us an estimate that the Switch will be using will go for about 2.5 to 6.5 hours of battery life, depending on the game that you're playing. They said that Legend of Zelda is going to be a game that will run for 3 hours, and this is when you're not using the dock and you are just taking the device on the go. I think for those intensive games, we're going to be seeing 2.5 to 3 hours. It's not the best, but I mean, I don't know. I think the 3DS barely had 4 hours when it first came out, right? So
yeah, it was like 3 to 4.
That's not a big deal.
It also makes me wonder what it's going to be like once, you know, your battery gets older and it goes through its cycles. You know, what if you hit, you know, 500, 1,000 cycles on this thing? Is there a way to replace it? Are you going to take it off the charger and it dies in 30 minutes if you're trying to play Zelda, you know, 5 years from now?
Yeah.
Like that's
something.
I'm not trying to be hypercritical or anything, but it is, you know, it's definitely something to consider.
It's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because and that comes with the danger of making a console portable, right? Whereas like conventional consoles are always hardwired into the wall and always powered by power outlets.
Yeah.
That's not even a factor, but it's one extra spec that people have to worry about now, and it's one extra reason for someone who might complain a lot to complain.
Yes.
I mean, but the other side of it is you're getting a console game like off of the TV. You could literally go to the park and play for 3 whole
that's
hours.
amazing. That's awesome.
You can't do that with a PS4
they freaking
or
announced
Xbox.
They freaking announced
good point.
Skyrim for it. Like, you can play
Yeah.
Skyrim wherever you want now. Like, that's amazing. There's no emulation.
yeah.
It's just an actual game that you could buy and then take on an airplane. Like, you will never be bored at an airport ever again if you have Elder Scrolls Skyrim in front of you. Like, that's incredible.
So yeah, I mean that's the upside of it. Like no one else does this, and I think people tend to forget that Nintendo isn't like they are seen as the kids toy company, and they make kids toys, but they also are the leading like innovation team when it comes to games. Like every time they stepped up their game, like each console,
Would you guys
they innovated.
If we stop talking about this as a console, like a conventional Xbox PlayStation competitor, and talk about it as a portable console only, would you guys consider this to be the best handheld on the market? The best
when it comes
handheld
out, hands down.
I mean, I'd have to reserve that for like actually like having it
Playing
hands
it?
on, but I think as of right
I'm sure if you-
now, I think honestly, I think I'd fall in love with it. Give me console quality games on the go,
Yeah,
and
Nintendo
I don't
wants
usually do things that take like 8 hours a day where I'm like outside of my house.
Sure.
So yeah, 3 hours is perfectly fine for a graphics and like sound and like intensive heavy game.
Think about how amazing the PSP was for everybody. Like, the PSP was basically a portable PlayStation 2. Like, that blew everyone's friggin' minds. It was like you got to replay all your old favorite games. They rebooted a lot of the stuff, and
then later
had a
you also
PlayStation
got
2
to
in your
play
hands.
all the NES games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, there's definitely like something amazing about having a really high quality portable system. I think it'll definitely do well. There's a market for it for sure, but I think a lot of the downsides to this console are when you think about it purely from the console standpoint and not the fact that it's also a portable. Like, that's its true strength, is the fact that you can take it anywhere and that it has AAA titles being made for it. Because even the PSP, didn't really have the best developers working on it. You didn't have all the time, or at least the A team working to develop cool console game or cool games for just portable platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this will be it'll be cool to get a AAA Mario title that you can like take with you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Definitely. Yeah. So, and then kind of going off of the I guess opposite of taking on the go, you were going to have this dock that's going to come with it when you buy it, and it allows you to plug it into your TV basically, so you can easily switch. I mean, we saw it on the presentation and some of the gameplay they showed after. The switch between when you put the console or the device into the dock to start running on your TV or when you take it off, it's fast. Like, it's really quick. And we also know that the dock for certain games will up the visual fidelity when you're playing on your TV. So Breath of the Wild will be running at 720p when you're playing on the go, but when you put it into the dock and start running it through an HDMI cord to your TV, it's going to run at a native resolution of 900p. So we're going to see some kind of better visuals that way. And the dock will be included with your console purchase, which will be nice. But yeah, let's move on to kind of one of the huge, I guess, parts of the Nintendo Switch, and that's the Joy-Con controllers that we're going to see, connected to the side. They announced that they went and they did this new kind of HD rumble built into each of one of these Joy-Cons, and I think seeing that and then this new IR motion camera that they put into the right Joy-Con, if I'm correct. There's a reason why this console's $299. Like, they put a lot of, tech into each one of these Joy-Cons, they're tiny. I mean, once we get our hands on them, we're going to realize how small they are. But thinking about the Rumble, it's like they had these cool little mini games where it's like, let's see how many, ice cubes we can kind of guess that are in, the controller or balls. That's one of the 1-2 Switch games, is where you have to guess these metal balls that are kind of moving around using the Rumble. They can kind of simulate that effect.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. Like that. Like I said, like reiterating, Nintendo is like an innovator first.
Exactly.
And then they're a kids toy company second.
Exactly.
I know this may seem weird, like people are gonna be like, why would I want to guess how many ice cubes are in the thing? Dude, the fact that you can actually do that's the crazy part.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think the thing that I really liked about the presentation was the lead up to the controllers, where they talked about how they took every single thing
Yeah, every
from
iteration of the
prior
consoles.
generations of their consoles and put it into what we're gonna get in March.
Correct.
I thought that was presented amazingly.
That was really smart, showing like it's an evolution of all the things that they've made so far. It has a piece of every console that they've made. Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, just seeing like all the different ways we can use the Joy-Con. They have these multiple configurations you can use it in. Obviously, you have your TV dock mode where you're not using it and the actual tablet, but you pull out the Joy-Cons and you can put them into this Joy-Con grip. You can also, you don't even need the grip. Like you can use their kind of like tablet mode, where if you're like on a plane, you can kind of bust out the kickstand that's in the back, put it on your tray in front of you, and pull out the Joy-Cons and hold them just in your hands as you would maybe like Wiimotes, and just play away from that tablet. And then, of course, you can have the Joy-Cons into the side of the tablet and play in handheld mode. I think there's going to be a lot of really cool, opportunities. Like, depending on how you feel, like, you can just run it any way you want. But then there's going to be also a bunch of accessories that are coming out. Obviously, they talked about, if you want to buy more Joy-Cons, there's different colors. I think it's like a neon blue, neon red, and black. They're really expensive, though, guys. I'm talking to get one extra Joy-Con, it's $50.
Yeah, that's for one left or right. Not both. But
Not
if
both.
you do both, then you get it both
Deal.
for $80.
Yeah.
I guess that's a deal, but also it's not on our list, but I think the Pro Controller. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, the Pro Controller is $70.
Yeah.
It is.
That's too much.
That's kind of heinous, because then it's pretty much the same Pro Controller from the Wii U.
Yeah.
It looks like a 360 button mapping type of controller.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't fit as ergonomically, but it's priced more than a game.
Fair. But aren't most kind of controllers kind of expensive? Isn't like the MSRP for a DualShock 4 like $60?
Yeah, this one is 70.
That's a good point.
And then Elite controllers are 100. So where does this stand?
Oh,
I mean, that's just, for me,
I mean,
honestly, like, that's
that's
just a
fair.
little too much for a Pro Controller. I would have been,
I
for as
agree
much
with
as
you,
they're-
Patrick.
it's too much.
yeah, for as much as they're charging your Joy-Con controllers,
Yeah.
these amazing, innovative controllers, like, it's $10, the Pro Controller's $10 less, I would have made that, like, 50,
Okay.
you know?
To be fair, though, this Pro Controller comes with the HD Rumble. It has the NFC thing in it as well. It has like all the features the Joy-Cons have built into it.
And this is one of the rare occasions where someone on the internet says they're completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. The reason why I think it's so expensive is because it's going to have a lot of the same features the Joy-Cons, and it's going to be in a Pro Controller format.
Okay.
With better buttons. So,
But still, 60.
yeah,
60 is
it's,
fine.
It's still expensive.
60 is fine.
It's still
We could do
expensive.
60, right? 60?
Yeah, we could do it.
We could do 60.
Also, you're going to get a Joy-Con grip. So we were talking about the Pro Controller. That's going to be a separate, standalone controller. But you're going to get this kind of grip, this kind of shell where you can mount your Joy-Cons into to kind of give you more of a controller.
Just mount 'em.
Just mount. And then a lot of people were wondering, well, how's that charging the controller or the Joy-Cons? So it doesn't. Your Joy-Cons are charged when you plug into the tablet.
Oh my god.
But they do get 20 hours of battery life each, which is really nice. But if you, for any reason you're running out, you can actually get a Joy-Con grip that actually has a charger built into it, and that's going to be about $30. So there's ways around it.
Does the Pro Controller, it's wireless?
Yes.
So, wait. So it's wireless. Does it also, because you know how the Wii U Pro Controller, it was actually a good controller. It had like up to 80 hours
Yeah.
of battery life.
They
Like, I only
rated-
charged my Pro Controller once. But granted, I haven't used my Wii U a lot. It still holds that charge.
Yeah, this new Pro Controller, I was seeing numbers. They're also aiming for that 40 to 60 hour range for this thing. It's going to be huge. So it's a good purchase,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean,
that is a
maybe
good purchase, but man, these prices.
They're expensive, and it doesn't even stop there.
just
They're
a lot of the accessories are just in general.
Yeah.
they're not cheap.
It's just kind of crazy how normally priced the console is, and yet seemingly every single thing that you have to buy to enjoy this is exorbitantly priced. I mean, even going
Yeah, it
back
costs
to
an
like
arm and a leg.
pretty much forcing you to buy a micro SD.
Yeah, that's very
It
fair.
it's frustrating. It's
argue.
frustrating because you buy a $200 or you buy a $300 console, you don't get anything that's like Wii U-esque. You have to pay for online, and then maybe you want
Correct.
to play with your friends and family, so you drop the $80 on the controllers. But maybe you're like more serious into like shooting or fighting games. You want the Pro Controller, so there's another $70, and so now you've spent and you're now with 0 games, you're at like $500 almost. You know?
Yeah, and that's a good point
Like,
that you
that's
brought
crazy.
that up. That the online, because we didn't talk about that, but they're gonna revamp their online system, and while it's going to be free, there's gonna be a trial period. Like later in the year, they're gonna start charging us for it, and like you said, like that means it's not just $300 to get this console. All these accessories, all these like the SD card, and then online we're gonna have to pay for later. Hopefully, this online service is gonna be
The
legit.
online service is weird also because if you go back to that conference, they said each month with that online
Yeah.
service you get to play a game for free that entire month.
but you don't get to keep it.
You don't get to keep
Yeah.
it.
It's weird.
Even if you have that subscription, it's
Not that you
I've been-
could with your freaking 32 gigs.
Yeah, good point.
This is like the OA equivalent for Nintendo for you.
Hey, we said we bring OA in
don't mention
every show.
By the way, Netflix is releasing another show that's like got a same vibe to it, and
I
it
saw
doesn't
it, I
look
saw
as
it.
crappy. So I'm excited.
It's like the AO. It's
The
just like-
AO.
But yeah, like that's. I mean, if I'm trying to turn like a positive spin on it, just because I don't have it yet, and I'm not gonna. I don't think as of right now I'm gonna be a day one adopter because I've been burned
Fair enough.
a lot of times by Nintendo products. Going back to the positive, like say you don't want to buy a game every month after spending all this money on the controllers, getting the upgraded SD card and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and spending $300 on a console. That's already expensive. And then spending what was it, $60? Was that the subscription
For
for
this,
online?
No,
Or was it 80?
we don't know yet.
Oh, we don't know yet.
Yeah, they haven't said anything.
So, but think about it this way: if you're the type of gamer, which I don't know many of, that doesn't have a back catalog, this could be like your GameFly. You get
Sure.
some for however expensive the subscription is for online, you get a free game a month.
Mm-hmm.
And for kids who have a lot of time, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I have so many games that I got for free from PlayStation Plus and Games with Gold, and they're just adding to my back catalog.
Yeah.
I haven't touched any of them yet. Like it really takes me forever to get to these games, even though I've been wanting to play them forever. I finally get them for free, but the fact that I think the added fact that you don't get to keep them will drive someone to be like, dude, I should play this game right now and finish
Yeah.
it.
It kind of gives you a reason to do that.
So kind of a better spin on that. It is coming down really hard at my house.
Yeah, it's raining pretty bad right now. But yeah, I think to wrap up the Switch topic, let's tell the listeners maybe what they're getting in the box. So for your $299 price, you're getting the tablet, the console itself. You're getting 2 Joy-Cons, either neon blue and neon red, or 2 kind of like black gray. You're gonna get the dock. You're also gonna get an HDMI cable for that, and you should also get these new kind of Joy-Con straps that allow you to kind of get a cable, like what do you call it, a little wrist strap, so that it doesn't fly out of your hand, and it also makes it so that the SR buttons, which are the new shoulder buttons that are on the Joy-Cons, are a little bit more comfortable to hold. And of course, you're gonna get your the AC plug for it and stuff, but that's pretty much it. Like you don't really get. Oh, and of course you get the Joy-Con grip with it as well. Beyond that, that's it. So none of the accessories that we talked about you're really going to be getting with it. It's going to cost you extra. But yeah, also before we end the segment, I'd like to tell the viewers that January's not quite over yet, and there's going to be 2 big AAA games coming out before the end of the month. Both on the 24th of January, we have Resident Evil 7 and, of course, Kingdom Hearts 2.8 HD Remix. So, very different games. I think you both know that, guys, but a little bit for everybody.
So wait, for Kingdom Hearts 2.8, you're not getting the full game? Like, I want...
You only get 2.8
what happened to
of
the
it.
0.2 of it?
Oh, yeah, that's
They
coming
figured
in March
instead
3.
of they said they were going to release 3 later this year, and they said, screw it, we're just going to give them most of it.
We're giving
it,
most of
not
the
all
game.
of
And then the last
So is it cheaper?
0.2, they're going to have to the last chapter of the game's going to come out in December. Basically, it's going to
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
I know we're super
No, actually,
excited for that.
2.8 is perfect for me, actually, because, I replayed the Kingdom Hearts games a couple of years ago, just
Right.
got a PlayStation, and haven't really touched on any of these, like, apparently essential games. Brian, I know you've told me that all of these, like, Dream Drop and everything is vital to
They're
the
very
story.
big,
So this would be a great way for me to catch up leading up to 3.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess one last thing I was going to ask everybody was, what have you guys been playing this week? What's been new or the same, I guess?
For me, I haven't had time to put more time into Final Fantasy 15. I just have been busy, like, at work and editing the past couple podcasts, and so I've been trying to figure out Inside. I'm still stuck on this one puzzle.
The water level.
Yeah, you have to. It's always water level puzzles.
So you get you stuck.
It's like not water level as in like the like you're stuck underwater, but it's like change the level of the water so that you could do this thing. And it's the one where you have to get this box from left to right, and so you change the water level, drag it across, but then when you put the water level down a certain way, the door on the right like slams down, so you have to somehow get the box wedged in between the door. It's just a mess, and I do like 4 attempts at a time, and then I just get angry, and then I go somewhere else. But what about you, Ryan?
So again, like I mentioned earlier, I had some free time the other day, and I kind of got back into Final Fantasy 15. I set it down for a second. That game is dangerously,
Cheesy?
Dangerously, I was going to say engaging.
Oh.
Just because there's so much to do. And there's just, it's, the more I play that game, the more I'm impressed the level of detail. Like, I just finished chapter 6, headed to the lighthouse. And so now, on the way, Iris, you're right.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah. She suggested that we get out and check something out. And I was like, okay. And we essentially went and like hung out in the tide pools. I was like, this is something I would do with like my friends or family. Like, this is crazy that they have like cool the map. I remember making fun of Brian or like kind of scoffing when I first saw him play it before I got the game and just being like, that map's not that big. Holy crap, I was so wrong.
It's big.
I was so wrong. This game is
so big.
It's huge.
It's
so as the more I'm glad I got to play a little bit more this week because I got to advance in the story a little bit. Actually, I played too many of the side quests. I'm like level 40. I'm just going into 7. I'm going up to the lake right now, and I'm like level 40. And then all the like the stuff is like level
at where I am.
Yeah, and like everything's level like 20 something, and I'm like, crap. Like
it's destroying it.
What's high wind or the honeybee looking chick like with the lance. I beat the crap out of her like super easy. Like,
oh yeah,
Arnea, yeah.
That was not hard at all because again I was like 10 levels above her. I was like, oh man, I should have stopped doing all these side quests. I got distracted.
Yeah,
wanted to catch those yellow frogs.
You're like right where I am, except for I'm like 10 levels above you, and I'm just.
You're 10 levels above me.
Yeah.
So you're level like you're level like 50, and all the enemies are level like 25. That's no fun. I actually tried to look for a higher difficulty setting. I was like,
nope,
this is too much. I have too much.
Oh no! When I fought Aranea, I was like level 10 levels
probably
above her.
Same, yeah.
So it was like the same, but I've been stuck at this point forever. Anyways, what about you, Brian?
Yeah, a lot of Final Fantasy 15 as well. I beat the game, guys.
Damn it!
It took a while, but I beat it earlier this week, and I've moved on to the end game. So I've hit level 99. Everybody's maxed out, and I'm doing the Menace dungeons. So when we did all the those dungeons that we kept seeing those weird doors, we're like, what the hell is this door? I can go into them now, and boy, it's a challenge. It's really fun, and the levels like if you guys were asking for a difficulty, you're like, oh, these guys are too easy because I'm over leveled. Do those Menace dungeons? They're gonna kick your ass. It's crazy. But
oh God. Brian, can I ask you something real quick about the Ascension?
Yes.
When you get to endgame level 99, can you actually unlock the 333 and like 999 like stuff? Is that like actually possible? Like, it seems so impossible right now.
No. You literally, the amount of AP you get for reaching 99 will not even come close to covering all of the nodes that you can unlock. You're going to need to do some AP farming, and a lot of it.
But it's not as bad as they make it out, right?
Once you know how to do it, it's not terrible.
It seems doable.
But it's silly because XP and money is easy to get, but AP is definitely not. So cool. Well,
So
how
I
about the
shouldn't. I
viewers,
should stop
give
just
us-
spending it willy nilly.
Yes,
Yeah.
you should. But yeah, what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the Nintendo Switch? We have an upcoming February 26th hands-on event in San Francisco. You guys should definitely check out. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Do you think the cost is too high? Do you think the launch lineup is looking all right? Let us know. All right, folks. Well, that ends game time. So thanks for joining us for that.
Welcome back to What Is Podcast, guys. This segment that we're doing now is What's On. I'm going to take over this week's segment, and my topic is which 90s cartoon, or which 90s station had the best cartoons? Now, just to throw a couple highlights out there by station, we're going to do Cartoon Network, which had Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Courage, they had Tom and Jerry, Nickelodeon, All Real Monsters, Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, Kablam, and technically SpongeBob since it was May 1st, 1999. WB, Kids WB, they had the Tiny Toons, Animaniacs. I was so torn when I found this out, but they had Batman the Animated Series on there, which is probably my favorite cartoon ever. They had Batman Beyond originally on there, and Freakazoid. MTV, they did have cartoons back in the day before it was just reality shows. They had Daria, Aeon Flux, and if you guys still remember, Beavis and Butthead.
Of course.
And ABC, they had like Recess, Gargoyles, Goof Troop, and if you guys remember, Beetlejuice was a cartoon.
Oh yeah,
also
the animated one, right?
Yeah. So yeah, let's get right into it. What do you guys think? Which station do you guys think had the best cartoons?
Oh, it's such a hard choice. I mean, we were just looking at the list of all the games came out. You know, we had an idea. We're like, oh, I definitely think it's this network. But then you see this list, and you're like, oh man, each network had just amazing shows. If I had to pick, I think I'm gonna go with the choice that I know a lot of us were kind of discussing earlier. But I think Cartoon Network. Honestly, I mean, just hands down in terms of just how much time I spent watching cartoons, like growing up in the 90s, like it was all of it was mostly Cartoon Network. I mean, just even going into the early 2000s, like they had some really good stuff. But for the 90s, I mean, it was wonderful. Like I know we watched Rocko's Modern Life on Nickelodeon, but I think Cartoon Network had some great stuff. I mean, Dexter's Lab was huge. We had Powerpuff Girls, like we were talking about earlier.
Do not put Ed, Ed, and Eddie on this freaking list.
You can't
oh
not
my
have.
god! Even though I watched it, I did not enjoy it.
Really?
You did not like
Yeah.
Ed, Ed, and Eddie?
It was phenomenal.
It
It was
was
amazing.
It was like, ugh.
My favorite line has to be, "Flip me, Marie, I'm getting crispy." It just applies to everything. Like,
Oh
Love
my
the Canker
god! I don't deny it's a good cartoon. Just wasn't my type of cartoon.
Sure.
You know,
I guess some of these. I mean, Ed, Ed, and Eddie. That was early 2000s, though, right? Like,
I
don't.
believe so.
And
So,
like-
yeah, Ryan, you're wrong.
No, I mean, I think even like, did we watch Dexter's Lab in the 90s as well?
Yeah,
Okay. So
definitely.
it definitely started then.
Definitely in the
Yeah.
90s.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for me, it has to be Cartoon Network just by saying those things. I mean, I know you guys have a lot more to say about it. Like, what are your thoughts?
What?
Uh,
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, yeah, I definitely think Cartoon Network was, for me personally, the channel that I watched the most, just from a content perspective. And, you know, I know we're talking 90s specifically, but in a bigger picture, I think just they've evolved to continue to do really awesome and original things, and really shaped a lot of TV culture that we grew up on. And
They're still
it
the only
definitely
network that does
informed-
like cartoons. Like they're still
Huh?
catered around cartoons, whereas the other networks aren't as much.
Yeah, Cartoon Network was like you just brought up. The heart and soul of it is cartoons, whereas Nickelodeon had a lot of a lot of other content going on. They had a lot of their
Like live action,
you know,
like Double Dare, Legends of Hidden Temple,
Yeah.
Guts.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Damn.
to me, Nickelodeon was more like Disney Channel, you know, and less about cartoons. They definitely had good cartoons, but Cartoon Network was, I mean, even like back in the 90s, Boomerang, right, was, I guess before it was its own network. Cartoon. They would play the old school like cartoons, like even way before our time. But being exposed to that was pretty cool.
Cartoons.
I feel like if you watch Cartoon Network in the 90s and continue to watch it, you've been exposed to, you know, decades and decades and decades of animation history.
You had its own, it had everything.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Cartoon Network also, like I kind of alluded to, I think was a huge factor in bringing Japanese animation to America and popularizing it.
Sure. Toonami.
Yeah. So, you know, Cartoon Network from the, you know, Dexter's Lab, Powerpuff Girls, Johnny Bravo, Courage. I think Courage was my favorite. Just the creepiness of it.
So good.
It was like mature too for like.
I feel like 90s cartoons had this really creepiness to them that that just you don't see anymore.
No.
I mean, you like think about Real Monsters and just like there was just all these like really like eerie, like almost nightmarish like shows that I feel like wouldn't really be passable today. They're just like kind of freaky looking.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of picked more 90s things, because I feel like there was a lot less censored back then too.
Yeah.
Like, just like you're saying, it was some of the things you see on these cartoons were like, how did they get past that?
I know.
Like, how did that get in there?
Yeah, how did they air it and not get flagged for it in some way? Yeah.
I mean, it still happens today too. I mean, you look at Courage, or I rewatched it and I was like, wow, there's a lot of kind of innuendos in the show. But then, you know, you watch Adventure Time and they have a ton of innuendos today because it's adults making cartoons. So they kind of make their own jokes and it flies over your head as a kid. And then you watch it later and you're like, oh, I should have seen that.
That's like the secret, like awesome part of cartoons is like adults are making these, or they're like, oh, these kids will think back to this cartoon and be like what we're doing right now and be like, holy crap. Are you serious? Rocco's Martin, he was a phone sex operator for a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was talking to Mrs. Bighead.
Damn. I didn't even make that.
It's kind of like we were talking about Kubo and the Two Strings the other week, right? You know, a lot of that stuff kind of flies over your head, but you know, it's nice for everyone to watch, or you can enjoy it at every stage of your life. You know, There's different things for people. There's different takeaways.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, Patrick, I know you're very animated about this this topic.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking at the list of highlights, Cartoon Network definitely, I know everyone's like, oh, everyone likes Cartoon Network. Yeah. It's Cartoon Network. It's the variety that they bring. They have so many hits on that. But looking at this list tears me in two because I didn't know WB originally aired Batman the Animated Series. Like I said, that is probably my favorite, probably one of my favorite things ever. It doesn't even have to be cartoon. It's just like favorite things. That is the reason why I love Batman.
Yeah.
And to find out that it came out on WB, it was like, oh crap, because I remember watching it on Cartoon Network. But yeah, WB also had Freakazoid, Pinky and the Brain. They did Tiny Toons and Animaniacs. That, like, I started rewatching Animaniacs on Netflix recently, and man, it's like a time capsule watching that thing. Even like the intro songs, they even mention Bill Clinton playing the saxophone.
Huh.
Like if like that would completely go over your head as a kid.
Yeah.
But like the fact
watching it,
that they have, like Ryan said, they had a lot more adult jokes thrown in there too.
Yeah.
Every time a nurse pops in, you get the hello nurse.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
Great line.
these little cartoon dogs things are exactly.
Yes.
They're just, I don't know. I don't.
Is Wacko basically Guy Ledouche? Is that? I think so.
He's Guy Ledouche, but he sounds like Ringo Starr.
He does.
So yeah, I mean,
and didn't they do like a song where they like literally had every country in it?
Yeah, Wacko does. Rob Paulson is the
voice actor.
No. Rob Paulson is the voice actor of Yakko. Yakko's the taller one with the pants.
Oh yes.
But I was listening to a podcast recently, and he was talking about that episode, and I rewatched it. It's in like the second episode where
Oh, wow.
they do every single piece of land on the globe, and in a song format. It's like that animation and the amount of time that was put into that is amazing.
Right.
But that comes from WB.
Fair.
Whereas Cartoon Network, you do get amazing shows like Dexter's Laboratory, Powerpuff Girls, which for some reason guys were like, "Ugh, it's a girls show." No, it totally isn't. That show is freaking
It was
awesome.
badass. I love that. Yeah.
There are so many funny moments in that show. I love quoting that show. Johnny Bravo, believe it or not, he was like, if you don't think about it, or if you think about it this way, he's kind of the reason, like, trying not to be a douchebag. Because he was a douchebag. Every time he's trying to be a womanizer, and like all these little subtle hints of cartoons, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I know none of that was a complete sentence. Forgive me.
No,
I'm
no.
freezing in
But
this
you-
garage.
You got your point across.
Yeah. And then, like Ryan said, they had a lot of anime in Cartoon Network, which was, they had Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, Mobile Suit Gundam. Oh my god, I forgot about this. Tenchi Muyo.
Tenchi
Oh my
Muyo. I
God.
rewatched that kind of recently.
Tenchi Muyo, Outlaw
So good.
Star. Big O! Big O! Oh, oh.
I can imagine.
Yeah, dude. So, in terms of sheer variety, Cartoon Network is the place for cartoons. That is the land where
my love of animation of Japanese anime came from Toonami, and just Tom's character was so suave and like cool,
Steve.
and they
Dude,
had all this like
Tom.
music like they highlighted all these music artists and stuff too,
They did
and
go
Yeah,
after
they
gorillas,
did.
like
that's how I learned about the gorillas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should do the,
yeah, I mean,
And
it
then,
was it seemed
Clint Eastwood,
it seemed like
right?
the precursor.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I feel like Toonami was a precursor to Adult Swim in its own way.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
it was like this late night
100%.
block of kind of not popular, like non-mainstream stuff. But if you were into these cultures, you really got sucked into these things. And
Well, it was
obviously,
Toonami
Adult Swim
after school,
continues.
right? It was Toonami after school. Then they had Toonami the Midnight Run,
Yeah, that did the
and
anime.
then
stuff.
they
That's
had
true.
Toonami Midnight Run and Adult Swim. Back
Okay,
to back.
I don't even want to talk about the after school Toonami though, because they had like bullcrap like Code Lyoko, which is like probably the worst thing I've ever fucking watched in my
Oh,
life.
the people with the fat foreheads.
Okay.
And
hey,
literally the worst dubbing I've ever seen. They
You know
didn't
what?
even try.
But that's when they showed. That's when they showed Dragon Ball Z.
they did, but I gotta say, Code Lyoko, I thought the same thing, but then I actually watched it because they didn't show all of it. They had to like take it off after I don't know whatever they reached a certain season.
'Cause
It
sucked.
grows on you, dude. No, it's good. It's honestly good. Like I loved it.
I don't know if you see me right now, Ryan, but I'm like staring.
It's staring me
at
down so much.
Brian. Just like,
The
who
viewer-
is this guy?
The listeners can just sense it just from listening to
That-
us.
I wholeheartedly.
The stank eye.
Yeah, don't knock it till you try it. But even from what I've seen on, just
I've already
looking
tried
at
it.
it, wasn't
I'm knocking it.
aesthetically.
All right.
And
Knocking it.
I know people out
But
there will
hold
back
on.
me up. But go ahead.
Toonami had Reboot. Do you remember this, Ryan?
Reboot?
Yeah.
What?
Please tell me you've seen Reboot.
That sounds super familiar.
You don't remember
Reboot?
Reboot with Bob and Gadget, or not Gadget,
Oh,
Frisket
oh, oh,
and
oh.
Dot's Diner, Hexadecimal,
Mm.
Megabyte.
Yep.
Oh, I think you've seen it.
Oh my god. I was telling Brian before we started the show, I watched Reboot. I rewatch Reboot every year. At least 1 week out the year, I just sit on YouTube and find every episode of Reboot. It was, they had a PlayStation 1 game for Reboot. And it, from what I could tell, it was kind of, it was decent.
Okay.
But yeah, like the whole concept that humans, the users, are the bad guys, and the whole reason why video games are hard and why we keep losing is because if we don't lose, if we win the game, we destroy their city. Like that's intense. That puts so much emotional weight on every time a game comes, and when like incoming games would come at the most inopportune times for Bob. It was crazy. And they had like a whole second season with like Mouse and then grown up Enzo. Oh god. Cartoon Network, hands down. That's it.
Yeah.
You're like,
it's fair
I love
argument.
Batman, but
Well, see, that's the thing. I watch Batman on Cartoon Network when they used to air it like late night.
Yeah.
But still, Batman animated series, one of the best cartoons ever made.
Oh,
Show that to people.
Yeah, if you haven't seen
Yeah.
it,
It still holds up. Yeah.
Watch it.
Super good. Kevin Conroy, Batman. Yes. Mark Hamill, Joker.
100%.
Holy crap. But yeah, that's all I have for what's on. Let me know what you guys think is the best cartoon show from the 90s or best station that has all of them. I know we didn't really get to talk about ABC and Disney Channel, but that's because they lost severely. Before we
You know.
go, what have you guys been watching?
well, I think Ryan and I can both say we've been really into Netflix's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I really like it. And I think
I like it a lot.
I like it a lot, and I think
think-
they did a phenomenal job.
I think
But-
you're doing it the way that I should have been doing it, Brian, like rereading the
Mhm.
books and really understanding the juxtaposition between the books and this, because I kind of, the approach that I took is that I was just so excited to about this revival.
Yes,
Obviously, because the original movie version didn't do very well.
we shall not speak of that film.
Yeah. So I feel like I should have taken the time to read the books, but I just wanted to watch it like as soon as possible, as soon as it came out. And I can say from a perspective of someone who hasn't reread the books, since I was a child, I feel like they've captured the essence of the books very well. Do you agree with that, Brian? I mean, as someone
easy.
who's a little bit more in tune with or remembers better, obviously, the
Yes.
exact.
They do such a phenomenal job, and I think we can agree on this, and how the books, they kind of take away from the narration of the children at times to talk about, like a word or something, where the author of the book is kind of giving a little quick, talk about, where he was at the time, or whatever. And for the show, they did an amazing job by actually casting someone for Lemony Snicket and having him appear in the show to say those exact lines, and they do it word for word, and it's an amazing job. So
Yes,
yeah, they do little things.
I mean,
different for the most part.
Yeah, having Patrick Warburton, I think, was a really good
Yes.
choice. And
Oh, thank you.
Wrong, Patrick.
wrong, Patrick Dungus. No, I think
this
I
is
think
Patrick.
this is me. I really enjoy it, but I also like how they took creative liberties too. They
did.
they understand that it's a fairly old book at this point. They understand as
Yes.
well that it's a different medium, and they're really embracing that. They there's a couple times where they look straight into the camera and they go, they say something like fourth wall breaking, or
Yeah.
Lemony Snicket will refer to it instead of as a book as a TV show.
Yeah.
So they're really embracing it and making it their own, which I really appreciate. How they really respected the source material, but they understood
still did
copying it and pasting it directly wasn't going to be as endearing, I think. Especially in the moments where they say stuff like, they refer to like Uber, or they refer to buying stuff online, or
Correct.
it seems kind of odd in this, like, it's really dissonant, like world that they're in.
World universe. Yeah.
But it's also endearing, I think, that they're kind of not taking it super seriously, because it's a child's book. They're not.
Yeah.
It's dark and dreary, but
But it's still
just-
child's no more.
but
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I agree. Like, not to interrupt you too much, but to say, like, one of the things where they took a liberty of kind of changing it based on the time that we're in now was the comment they made in the Wide Window episodes, where they're talking about was it the Aunt Jacqueline, her fear of realtors, and they're like, because we all know nothing bad can come from the real estate market. And then you have, Lemony say he looks just on the screen breaking the fourth wall, as like we all know bad can happen from the real estate market. But whereas in the book, all he says is, yeah, realtors are great, like they can't do anything but show you prices. So I like that when they changed a few things like that, it makes it for a better experience.
And it makes it more relatable for people who haven't who've never consumed this material in any form, whether they've never seen the original movie or read any of the books. So
Yeah.
Well, I've been watching Fuller House.
What do you mean, Fuller House?
Yeah, I actually like it a lot. Fuller House. If you're not into like the cheesy sitcom, then obviously it's not for you. But if you're nostalgic for Full House, they man, just like the fan service they have in that show, the updated writing, the updated jokes. It's, yeah, I guess it's happening in the series of unfortunate events also. But yeah, they're bringing it into more modern times where they have modern problems, but it still comes back to the heart of family. And it's a like comfort food. That's exactly what it feels like watching that show, but it's new. So refreshingly new.
And that's Netflix,
I would
right?
say I have the same sensation with a series of unfortunate events. You know, it's familiar material, and it's something I've never actually seen before, literally. But it's nice to kind of revisit that old book that I loved so much as a kid. You know.
Also, just rewatched the episode playtest of Black Mirror.
Wonderful.
I don't know
Wonderful
why
series.
I haven't started that series. I just showed my fiance, but she liked it, so maybe we'll jump on from the beginning. And all right, let us know what you guys have been watching. That's it. That's all we have for what's on. Now we're gonna transition over from the small screen to the silver screen on Keeping It Real. Alright guys, today's topic for Keeping It Real, what's your favorite foreign movies? Yeah, I mean with that question,
Yeah.
what do you think, Brian?
Well, I'm going to go with something just kind of off the top of my head. I really, really enjoyed Spirited Away. And I feel like a lot of us watched that and may know kind of why I picked it. But it was honestly kind of beyond, some of the stuff we talked about on TV, for like Toonami and stuff, as a way to see, anime for the first time. It was kind of one of the very first things I watched that really got me into anime and like Japanese animation in general. And it was also kind of my first, chance to check out some of Studio Ghibli's work and Hayao Miyazaki and his films. And just after watching Spirited Away, I mean, it was just, it left me feeling a certain way after.
Some type of way.
And I think, we watched it when we were a little bit younger, and just to see this story about a 10-year-old girl who's just kind of, spirited away, right, into this different world.
God, he did it.
I did it. I used it.
I made the joke.
And, I think her parents, like, they turned into pigs, I think. Like, it got really weird. But just, the film was huge, too. Like, it was received really well. I think, to this day, it's one of the 4th highest grossing films in Japan. I don't know what spot it holds, but I know the other 3 right now are Titanic, Frozen, and another animated film. That's the best movie, obviously.
Let it go.
But another huge animated film that just came out, I think last year, it's called Your Name, and it's slowly like starting to like win people over the same way that Spirited Away did. So,
Yeah, Spirited Away was my first Miyazaki film too.
yeah. So I think just it was such an important film to me because I think it got me into a lot of Japanese animation and to Miyazaki in general. So I picked that for sure.
What about you, Ryan?
For me, I'm gonna have to say Pan's Labyrinth by Guillermo del Toro. I almost feel like that's copping out only because Guillermo del Toro has since then become so popular in the United States, and most of his films since then have been English. But he's a Mexican filmmaker, and this specific film is in Spanish, so I feel like that counts.
Yeah.
But Guillermo del Toro, after seeing this movie, became probably one of my top 5 favorite directors. Just with his very specific aesthetic that he brought to all of his movies. I mean, I think this movie is why people approached him to do Hellboy, was like all of these like really eerie, like otherworldly, almost hellish, creatures and aesthetics. But they weren't like horror movies, like esque. It wasn't like gruesome to be gruesome. It was like mystical in a way. And I think also too, this was a time in my life where I was starting to learn Spanish, and so that was also a huge intrigue for me, just to kind of like to be learning Spanish in school and then watch this movie and go, oh, I'm actually picking up some of what they're saying without the subtitles. So that was
Nice.
that was just kind of an added personal bonus. But I just found the movie so enchanting, and just the characters are extremely unique. You mean the villain with like his eyeballs in his hands, and he like
It's like the
opens
most
them up.
famous GIF.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's just so iconic. I mean, people try so hard. Every single movie has people trying as hard as Guillermo del Toro to make something memorable and unique, and only certain things cut through it all. I think when it comes to mind, when you think of like kind of unique, not necessarily like otherworldly characters, Alien, like that whole universe is extremely unique, and it kind of has stood the test of time. I'm not saying that Pan's Labyrinth is on the level of Alien, but I'm just saying Guillermo del Toro is very good at creating these like the whole fawn, like the evil fawn character, all of everything
Not very
that
fond of
like
him.
me either. God, and like the little like mandrake root thing that like that she had under her bed, right? I mean, all these characters were just very it felt like a dark Disney movie or something. It was just very magical in its own kind of morbid way.
Yeah.
And again, it kind of reminded me of some of the cartoon shows that we were talking about earlier, like Courage and stuff, and it had that kind of feel to it. Right. Where you maybe should have been afraid, but you weren't, and everything was just kind of creepy, and you felt uneasy, but you didn't feel like scared maybe. And I think that's a very intriguing feeling in a movie to pull just from a visual aspect as not an audience member. If the director can create this place that looks familiar, like a house in the woods, and make you feel kind of intrigued and uncomfortable at the same time by putting all these like weird spirals and magical creatures everywhere, it's very captivating, obviously. So for me, Pan's Labyrinth set Guillermo del Toro as one of my favorite directors for sure. I mean, and obviously Pacific Rim and some of the stuff hasn't really followed that same kind of subtle morbid feel to it. Although Pacific Rim was awesome.
dope.
I think we can agree on that.
Oh my god, it was so good.
As soon as I said that, Patrick, you're like, all right, wait till I stop talking.
Dude, I love that movie. That movie's so good.
It's an amazing movie. Oh, so good. But yeah, Guillermo del Toro, super awesome director. Again, this movie definitely is.
And soon to be a new motion capture artist as well. He's going to be in Death Stranding.
Yeah, he's going to be in Hayao Miyazaki. Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
He's going to be in Hideo Kojima's new game. As well as Norman Reedus. And they're both holding babies. We have no idea what's happening in that movie.
Yeah.
So you guys know that he's not actually going to voice anything in that, right? Like, he's got too many other projects, so Hideo felt bad and just like scanned his face and then just plopped him in there with a different voice actor.
I would love... Yeah, I can't wait to see that. I want him to be like... I want him to have like a random like French accent or something.
They're completely wrong.
Yeah, something that doesn't really fit.
Yeah, something completely wrong. Like, I don't know. Put a girl's voice in too. It would be hilarious.
I'd like it.
But yeah, those are two really good movies. For my pick for a favorite foreign film is a film I'm not too sure many people know the original film, but I know Spike Lee reiterated this film, came out, did it his own spin on it, which I hated. It's Old Boy. I'm talking about the
original.
The original is so good that I felt like what Spike Lee tried to do. There's some things to me that are just too sacred to remake.
That's a really
you
good
don't
point.
need to remake Old Boy. It wasn't even that old a film.
Honestly, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, it's really well done. If you like, I know this is like the second time I have mentioned this, but on this podcast. But if you like noir this movie's right up your alley.
Yeah,
it has that noir feel. It's this guy. So basically, the synopsis is this guy. He drinks a lot, gets into fights, like with his wife, has a baby. One night he gets a little too drunk, gets picked up by his friend at the police office. He gets a call from his wife. They're like trying to figure out when they're coming home. All of a sudden, his friend answers the phone and is talking to the wife. And our main character, Odaisu, is gone. He turns around, the best friend turns around and is like, "Where'd you go?" And cuts to Odaisu being held in some sort of private prison.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't know how long he's gonna be locked up in there. Turns out it's gonna be 15 years. And
God.
The entire journey is amazing. The narration is spot on. Like, I watched this movie originally in English, even though it's a Korean
they
film.
did have a dub for it.
The dub is amazing. It's really well done, whoever the voice actors are. It's done really well. The translation, minus one certain part, is amazing. The score, which is something that the new Spike Lee version
Doesn't come close to.
totally just didn't get. I feel like there was no music in the new movie. The old movie, the score is like haunting because of I guess I want to say the theme of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everything fits so perfectly in this movie and works so well together that it is my favorite foreign and just one of my favorite movies in general. Not to mention the action.
Oh yeah.
And this isn't like your typical Chinese martial arts over the top action where people are flying off of buildings. This is like visceral and it's very grounded. And
Yeah,
one of my
very
favorite lines from the movie is, "Do 15 years of imaginary training pay off?"
Mm-hmm.
And he goes and fights all these people. And
And
it's
that-
probably regarded as regarded as one of the best action scenes that's ever been filmed. It took these guys 3 days to do this one action scene. And when you pop in that movie and see that scene, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about.
Because wasn't it all one cut?
It was all one cut. Yeah, it took 3 days for them to get all this down. And it's a scene in a hallway. It's one guy versus like 30 guys, but not in the sense that he's like this unstoppable tank.
Yeah.
It is probably the realest fight I've ever seen choreographed in a movie.
Yeah.
It's perfect. This movie it's like a roller coaster of emotions.
Especially that twist at the end, though.
Watch this movie. Well, I can't say too much more, but this movie is so, like, do yourself a favor and just watch this movie.
It's not
Highly
good.
recommended. Steer clear from the Spike Lee joint. It is not good. I feel like that version of the movie is like Spike Lee read the back cover of the original. It was like, all right, I think I got this. And he just went with it.
Wing it.
It was not good. Trust me. Why did I watch it?
Is that like
knowing
when you did
that was
your
gonna be
Harry
bad?
Potter? Is that like when you did your Harry Potter book report from watching the movie?
Yeah.
It's probably worse.
Damn.
It probably, because I at least read like the first 12 pages of Harry Potter, so I got
Like-
Harry's name right.
You got 12 times the amount of reading he had to do.
Yeah.
If you were Spike Lee's English teacher, you would have given him a D.
Easy.
Oh, to give
Maybe
him some
less.
D anyway. But yeah, seriously, do yourself a favor, watch this movie, and yeah, just let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Also, let me know what your guys' favorite foreign films are. We're always looking for new things to watch. And with that being said, that's it for Keeping It Real. I'm going to probably split this, make it sound a little bit more cohesive. But that's it for Keeping It Real. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. What are your favorite foreign films? And with that being said, let's go to our newest segment, Tech Nerdy to Me.
How's it going, guys? This segment is called Tech Nerdy, and today, or we usually, kind of review the latest tech and gear and all the cool stuff that's kind of coming out. But since last week you did a CES review, I figured it might be kind of cool to take a look back and ask you guys what piece of technology is your favorite? Like what piece of technology has had effect on your life. So wanted to just kind of pose that question. I can go first if you guys want.
Please, yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
So as I was thinking about this question, the first thing that came to mind is the first piece is the piece of technology that has changed kind of my life, or has been the most important to me, just in general, was my first DSLR camera. I started off taking pictures with like my parents' camera, and they hated it because film was really expensive to to develop. But they were super supportive, and even if I had my finger over half the frames, they would still develop it. So
Wait, that's not
when
how you take
DSLRs
pictures?
came out, they were. That's how you take some pictures. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You just got to get the framing right, or else it looks stupid. But
Okay.
you got to get the finger in the right angle. You got to block the right amount of light. But when DSLRs came out and you could take as many pictures as you wanted, essentially, it was a game changer. Not only for my parents, but for me, because I got to really explore photography and understand how changing shutter speed and f-stop and white balance all changed the picture for the better. So even though it took me 20 times, and even still it's a process, you can kind of tell what it's gonna be like, but sometimes you have to tweak it as you go. I kind of stopped taking photos on vacations maybe in the past couple of years because I've switched more into filming. But Brian and Patrick, as you know, that's kind of what I'm doing, not only in my free time and in my free projects, but that's kind of what I get paid to do as well. So I get frequent questions about all these like kind of toys that I have. Like one of my favorite toys right now is my 3-axis brushless gimbal, and I think it's super cool that it's a Steadicam. It stabilizes any movement that I make with my camera, and so even if I don't think I'll need it, I'll almost always have my camera mounted on it, because even if you're going for a steady shot, any micro movements that you have that you might make with your body, it'll compensate for, and you can essentially make yourself a tripod. So it's a very cool film tool, and it gets a lot of attention. But
Yeah.
Wow. You can imagine a 6 foot tall, blonde haired, blue eyed guy walking around with this camera gun looking thing brought a lot of stares.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it looks honestly crazy when you see you using it. I'm just like, what is that thing in his hand? It's not that small too. It's a decently good size, but definitely I can see it catching eyes.
Well, and even if I'm at work or something, and I've got other camera crews around me from different news stations or other photographers around me and stuff, like they're almost always like tapping me on the shoulder and like, what is that, or what is that, like how does that work, or what is, like, tell me about that. So I think it all started with a little DSLR, but now I'm investing in these cool toys, and I think it's really crazy how it used to cost so much money to get a Steadicam shot, from its beginnings in, The Shining, to these, fairly cheap, motor, like little micro motors that are compensating for movement. It's crazy. I mean, and think about camera drones, like the whole DJI family, GoPro's tapping into this market. Just the fact that you can get, $50,000 helicopter shots for $1,000, $1,200, $2,000, or you can get like the DJI Inspire and get like legitimately movie quality aerial shots for like $3,000. Like that's insane. So it's pretty cool that there's all this like toys at the prosumer level that have become so ubiquitous, because the technology has become cheaper to make. And so now it's pretty much, it's free game. I mean, especially with like YouTube and all these other, video sources or video aggregates, then it's almost it's worth doing because you can actually show these things to people, and you never know if you do something well enough, then you could actually get a lot of eyes on you. So it's kind of cool that maybe back in the day, having a camera or a video camcorder was almost always a hobby unless you actually got paid for it. It's cool that I grew up in a time where these are things that you can turn into careers, and actually pay your rent with. You can be a YouTube star now. Like, that's crazy. So
Yeah.
Cameras for me, like from a purely passionate side of just photography and visuals, onto making it an actual paid gig for myself. Cameras, and specifically my first DLR, was definitely the gateway into was my gateway drug basically into spending all this crazy amounts of money on all these like stuff. So
Wonderful.
yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I would definitely say my pick, while it may not have had as big of an influence on my life the same way as yours, but something that I'm just really, really into growing up. And that was kind of just cell phones, I guess, starting, and then smartphones too as we got older. I mean, I think when we were in middle school, that's kind of when cell phones started getting kind of more popular. Like, I don't think everybody had one. But I remember my first smartphone, and just the ability to be able to just be in touch with anybody technically that also had one at that moment was awesome. And I really I felt like I had so much power in my hands, and even more so now that we have smartphones where you have, internet and potentially like a mini computer in your pocket. But I mean, I can still just remember my very first cell phone, and I can't quite do this. I can't have that same. I can't say the same, I guess, about a lot of other things. I don't really remember the way it looked, like for my, my first TV or whatever. Like, but my first cell phone, I mean, it was just this like massive tank of a flip phone that didn't even have a color screen. It was like, it had a blue backlight, but damn, even without a camera, it was amazing back then. But yeah, and I've been so into it that, I try to upgrade every couple of years. And as we got smartphones, I just always nerd out about the latest specs and, how powerful these things can get. And it's, as someone who loves to mod their device, I'm very heavy into, rooting on Android as well as installing Exposed. Being able to kind of do all kinds of different things with that, I think is awesome and a lot of fun. So I've definitely kind of something that I started doing. I'm not sure if you guys can maybe even think back that far, but I started making a list of all my smartphones that I had from the very first one to this date. And it's crazy. It's like not only just being able to see them again, and but I want to continue that list for hopefully as long as I'm, buying smartphones. I would love to be able to show my family, but yeah, hey, look, this is a picture of this the very first smartphone I had when I was middle school. And people are like, oh my gosh, what is that thing? So
yeah, it's gonna be like our generation's version of like the pager. You're gonna be like, what does it do?
What is this? What does it do?
It's funny, like cell phones have gotten they were big and then they gotten smaller, and then now all of a sudden they're getting bigger again.
Yeah. Do you remember the first time we ever saw a phablet? Like a phone that had more than 5-inch screen? We were like, oh, what is that
It's called a
phablet?
phone now.
Yeah, like that is the phone now. Like if you have something that's less than 5.5 inches, like
Oh, I got something definitely less than 5.5.
You were waiting for me to start that.
10 years from now, we're gonna have 8K like roll up screens in our pockets, but they're gonna be like huge. It's gonna be like, hang on, give me a second. You're gonna spend 10 minutes on rolling the whole thing. Like, let me just text my mom. And
Yeah.
Gonna be like reaching to each corner.
No
of
one
the,
can
of the
see
gigantic-
Ryan moving around, but we're
It's
Skyping
hilarious.
him, and he's like putting on a show for me when he did that.
Oh yeah, that's how I tell stories, man. I do it with my hands.
You gotta have the hand gestures. But I think, Pat, you bring a very good point in that that's so true. Like the phone started kind of big. I mean, you see the very first, like, what was it? I guess cellular phone. I don't know if that was like
Was it the
late.
brick?
Yeah, those like big brick, like walkie-talkie looking things. You needed a briefcase to carry around.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, and then going to, they got a little bit smaller, but they were pretty big. And then thinking about like Zoolander, that tiny little
I
like
still want that phone.
the little flip phone he has, like that's where it was going for a while. Like the Razr, that thing was revolutionary when it came out. Where like Motorola just made this amazing phone. It was so thin, but you're right. Now it's getting bigger again. Like,
I didn't get my first Razr until after the iPhones came out.
damn, it wasn't at least the very first
Loser.
Razr, was it?
Well, it's because I don't know.
The V3.
I had problems with flip phones. They kept breaking
Because
on me.
you're a loser.
Oh.
Loser. I think it's SpongeBob. But yeah, so I definitely think that, it's kind of cool to see where smartphones are going to be going. So yeah, maybe it'll be that roll-up kind of screen that you put in your pocket, or hell, maybe even wrap around your arm. I don't know.
If you ever have kids,
or just
how early
in your
do you think
eyes.
you give them a phone?
Or my eye. So yeah, that's a huge thing, because I think Pat, you're the same way for me, like, or same way as me, in that I don't understand why there's these.
I hate kids.
I love hate kids. I just the idea that you're like elementary school kids on the playground with smartphones. We're talking like the latest thing. And I know I've talked to you about it, but I'm like, there was some magic with being younger, and you're out on recess and you're like, yo, where's Jimmy? And just like, I don't know. I think I saw him on the grass. You're like, cool, I'll go find him. You had to go like and search for these people. Now you're like, no one leaves the benches. No one's on the playgrounds. They're just like on their smartphones. Just like, where's Jimmy? I don't know. I'll text him.
He's right next to you.
He's right next to you on that bench playing some game. So I think
I
wouldn't.
think our parents looked at cell phones, or the way that you're talking about cell phones now, they looked at video games, because video games have become popular kind of as we were growing up.
Yeah.
So I think every generation has a different
That's their thing.
that has a different experience. You can't expect us to like have the same experience as our parents and our kids to have the same experience as us. You can wish that for them, and you can expose them to it, especially because obviously you have more perspective.
40 years down the line, when they're having like a holocast where people are like standing in front of you, like, what piece of technology changed your life? And they've been like, oh yeah, my little robot from CES 2017 or something.
Oh, sure.
That'd be cool.
And I played with him on the playground. My parents never let me play with it because it was they didn't want me to play with a stupid robot.
Damn. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I think to answer the question though, I honestly think that, middle school is kind of the start where your kids are going to start maybe doing certain activities with their friends or other families, where they're going to go out and, not necessarily be with you. So it'd be nice to kind of not keep tabs on where your kids are, but just kind of have an ability to keep in contact with them. But in elementary school, like, I think it's too soon. I think it's too early. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, we don't know what it's going to be like in the next 15 years. So
yeah, interconnectivity is definitely, a huge thing that cell phones and social media have brought to like such a larger and more common scale. Everyone can have access to a cell phone for a cheap price and keep in touch with people they haven't actually seen in 10 years or whatever. So it's a pretty powerful tool for sure. I can see why you chose that. You're definitely, and Brian, anytime I had any questions about cell phones, you were 100% the first person I called. I was like, well, yeah, you're the cell phone guru.
Every time I have any questions about anything, I ask Brian.
Yeah, that's true. I do that too, not just cell phones.
Yeah. I guess for me, it would be gaming, just games in general. They've not only changed my life, they are not an actual part of me. I'm not like made of freaking games, but they're a huge part of they're a huge part of who I am. Seeing games, like growing up and seeing games evolve from things that were just child's toys into the full-on experiences that we have now. Like, I was a part of that. Mm-hmm. Like, each generation, one of like the biggest things growing up gaming, I remember playing Super Mario World, and I remember playing Super Mario 3, that's in a backwards order, but I remember playing these games and then jumping ahead to like greater experiences, like on the PlayStation 1. Mm-hmm. Like, when I played Metal Gear Solid for the first time, or I didn't even play it, when I watched my brother play it, that was such a huge step up in the gaming world. And just for me personally, being like, this is what games can be. Yeah. Metal Gear Solid was this completely cinematic game. Although it looks bad now, and it probably doesn't control that well. I'm used to it. I'm fine with it. it was this seminal movement in gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And also around that time, you get some of the world's biggest games like Ocarina of Time
Mm-hmm.
and Mario 64.
Mm-hmm.
It's the games that when you compare it to nowadays, these are the games that started like open world exploration.
Yeah.
And just seeing how games have grown up and how I've grown with them, I love games. Games are a daily part of my life. They haven't been for the past week because I've been busy, but believe me, every chance I have to play a video game, to watch a video game, I am on my phone looking at all these things, all these facts, all the latest gaming news every year. Me and Brian would, we have like this thing to watch E3, order a pizza, get some wings,
Yeah.
watch
Make it a
E3.
thing.
Like it's an event.
It's
you
our
know?
Super Bowl, honestly.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of my life, and I'm at this point where technology is allowing me to play video games for the entertainment of other people. Yeah, it sounds like I'm another like YouTuber, wannabe Twitch TV player. It's hard to start off, but it is my passion, and it's definitely something I want to work towards and strive towards because it is something that has changed my life. There's this great quote I seen like on nerdy t-shirts and nerdy tattoos and stuff. I've lived 1,000 lives, and it has a picture of a controller, like a Super Nintendo controller.
Wow.
Because I've experienced all these different things, and that being said, it's like, yeah, dude, there's actual life out there. Yeah, that's true. I live it every day.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like my favorite way of experiencing escapism.
Mm-hmm.
For me, escapism on this level where I get to go on an adventure, I get to save the princess, I get to fight a bear from Tekken, I get to roll up 100,000 people and turn them into Star and Katamari Damacy.
Wow.
Like all these different experiences have shaped in some way who I am today, and that's why gaming to me, like just games are like what changed my life, or like the big tech, I guess, to answer the question.
Damn, that was really moving. Like, I don't think anyone listening to this can think of games like.
Plus I can't
differently
dunk,
now.
that's why NBA Street
No.
Volume 3 was like a big thing for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that all, like what you just said, I think plays like a huge, I mean, we can all relate to that. I think all the listeners and just Ryan and I as well, like, yeah, being able to just do experiences, like, honestly, like, they make fun of, people make fun of sports games and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, get out there and, do the sport in real life, but, like, some of the things you can do in these, like, amazing sports games, like, make your own team and, like, go into, like, crazy, huge tournaments, like, that's not something you can necessarily do, like, right away in the backyard.
Yeah, that's also another thing that goes into it, like tournaments for games. Like just recently, ESPN is hosting MLG events.
What?
Like
That's awesome.
they commentate. They had people who would never talk about video games unless they were paid for it, like at a E3 showing. They had people commentating it on like ESPN2 or ESPN8, the Ocho.
The Ocho.
Yeah.
Flaming
I
soccer
mean,
ball.
Yeah, for-
esports are
like
definitely
Evo.
becoming more popular.
Yeah, I know that it had like its start earlier on, probably a couple years back, but it's like really becoming
off.
mainstream. Like there's some people who still don't realize that gaming is a thing now.
Yeah.
Like it's slowly turned itself into pop culture.
Yeah, especially on cell phones, like on smartphones. Like, I think
Yeah.
everybody is getting kind of a way to experience games.
Yeah, and not to knock smartphone games because I'm sure there are great ones out there, but like to me, yeah, like the console games or like the huge experiences, not the 5-minute
quick
games. I mean, those are great games gameplay wise as well, but like there's something about this nostalgia that these console experiences have given me.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer.
Wow.
I mean, and just kind of just quickly touching on something you just said about how some people look as video games as substitutes to sports or can't understand,
Yeah. Why?
you know, the or kind of like create an unnecessary dichotomy between them.
Mhm.
That a good example of how video games are very sports oriented. I mean, not only is there sports video games, but stuff like Rocket League. My
Huge.
my
Oh
stepdad,
my God.
I think we're gonna be playing
my
that when we get back.
my stepdad, he when I got my PlayStation for Christmas, I set it up in my parents' living room and played a little bit of Rocket League in front of them. And at first, he was kind of apprehensive and didn't quite know what to make of it. And then after about 20 minutes or so, he after hearing us chat, like okay, I'm gonna go up and set the pass. You guys switch
Yeah,
out, or
call-outs.
Brian, you're two. Like all these, all these like kind of strategy, all these
Teamwork.
strategic things that these moments of teamwork, it just totally blew his mind. Like it's not even something that he had considered. It's like little RC cars with rockets on the end, and he like that was he took a very surface value. And then he realized that it was like us playing against people online, and that were, he didn't really understand. He was asking all these questions about how like matchmaking was working and like how the servers were being hosted. And of course, being an IT guy, like he that's how he asked the question. He's like, so are the servers hosted from the company? It was really funny. But yeah, like as soon as, I set it down for a minute, he's like, can I play? Like he was so, and he's a huge sports guy. I mean, my mom always jokes like he'll watch anything that if a ball rolls by, he'll watch it. Like anything with a ball in it, like that's his thing. So for him to be intrigued by video games and especially Rocket League was really funny because there are tons of elements of teamwork and again that kind of villainization of video games. That it makes people like not be physical or go outside or not have social, interactions or something. I think is unnecessary.
Yeah,
because
we have some of our.
I've had the opposite. We've
conversations.
all had the opposite experience.
Yeah, I mean, not too many people know this, but me and Brian actually became best friends over video games.
Mhm.
And we'll tell the story another time,
Sure.
but just a quick like footnote. I had no idea what he looked like, but our mutual friend gave him my PSN name for no reason at all. And all of a sudden I get a friend request and I add him like, who are you? He's like, oh, I'm in your class, I'm in your grade. And he was like, I noticed you have Resident Evil. You want to buddy up? I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess. End up playing.
Yeah, you were kind of a
this
dick back
game
then.
A little bit. Maybe.
Shut up. But yeah, like end up playing this game front to back with him, platinum the whole game.
Yeah.
He became one of my best friends through all the experiences we had. One of the funniest moments was we got halfway through like our third playthrough, and he's like, he meets me at school. Still don't know what this kid looks like. He goes, "Hey, hi Patrick." I'm like,
Who's this white boy?
"Hi." And then immediately text him like 20 minutes later, like, "Hey, dude, you trying to get on some Resident Evil tonight?"
And I'm all depressed. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
he hates me. I was like, wait, I don't get these mixed
But yeah,
signals.
it's awesome to see how far games have come in terms of, just how mainstream they've become and like how you could actually talk to other people and they haven't become this loner guy in the corner hunched over playing a Game Boy or like it has become this social element in the modern age and it's awesome.
And I really liked what you said as well, Patrick, how you said, you lived a 1,000 lives. I've never really considered it like that, but that's a really interesting
honestly debating on getting that
perspective.
tattoo. Like seriously, I kind of want to get that as a tattoo.
Damn, that'd be
Right?
awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
and you called it for what it is. It's escapism, and everyone does it. I feel like that word kind
It's
of
like a negative connotation.
Well, I feel like people have this negative connotation attached to it without realizing they do it themselves with TV or social media or whatever.
Yeah,
right.
But as long as you enjoy it and don't overindulge, I mean, escapism is totally normal. And I think video games are like you were saying, video games are the most interesting form of escapism and or entertainment. I'd say they're almost interchangeable words, really. But video games are so much more. It's like some of the original video games were based on I can't remember the exact name of it, but like the page where
Burger
you like
Time.
you're reading. you're reading a book and it says flip the page 20 if you decide to take a
the
left, or flip to page 53.
Yeah, choose your story,
yeah.
choose your
adventure,
end.
choose your own adventures.
Yeah,
like
choose your own
books.
adventure.
Choose your own adventures. Yes, exactly. So I mean, video games are the most sophisticated version of that. And again, like you were saying, have social aspects, and they've just become, so integrated with all these amazing technologies that we have that have made us interconnected as people, but have taken entertainment. I mean, when video games look just as good as some movies, why would you choose to passively experience something as epic as a movie, when you could live it, or you could be that character? So yeah, I mean, video games
depends on how
are
bad
definitely
that game is.
And how good the movie is. But fair enough. No, that's a very good point.
I definitely understand that. But yeah. What do you guys think? We'd like to hear your favorite forms of technology and how they've affected you in the comments below. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode 3 of What Is Podcast, the show where every week 3 best friends and you come together to discuss anything and everything: games, shows, movies, and tech. This show will post every Tuesday by 11 a.m. for your viewing pleasure on our YouTube and Facebook page. Like I said, I'm working on getting this show posted in an audio-only format, so stay tuned for that. I'm really trying to figure that out, so if you guys could sit tight, that'd be awesome. Like the video, subscribe to this channel, share it with your friends, and don't forget, if you want to be part of the show, leave your questions down below in the comment section. You can follow me on my YouTube and Twitch.tv channel, Krabby Patty, KRAB_B_PATTY. I know I haven't been that active lately, but I'm trying to find more time. I'm definitely going to be finishing up Final Fantasy soon. If you guys want to help me on Inside That Puzzle, I don't want to look it up because I'll feel too guilty, but help me out. Brian lives under a rock, and he doesn't want to be bothered by you unless you show him some new anime.
Maybe.
Ryan, is there anything you guys want to pimp out?
Like I said before, just follow me on, Instagram, probably RMcShaft, or on my other project, Native SF, on Instagram or Facebook. I'm actually working on a website for that, and that'll be launching probably within the next month. So I'm excited about that as well. So
Awesome.
yeah, just look out for that stuff.
Sometimes I forget when, like, oh yeah, my friend Ryan. You're like, oh, Ryan who? I'm like, Ryan McShaft. And they were like,
That's his middle name.
who?
Who?
But yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's the show, guys. Thank you again for listening to this episode of What Is Podcast. If you've made it this far, thank you. And I could probably say thank you to you personally at work. But yeah, until next time, it has been our pleasure entertaining you.